to process that.
Can you process where your head is with all that?
Yeah.
How do I differentiate myself from this?
All right.
We could all process the appointment process as it's begun today.
Yeah, we could.
We just learned we have a new boss.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Effective July.
Effective July 1st, but still, we learned about it
Yeah.
Today?
today.
Like-
Yeah.
Almost
Like
during
half an
lunchtime.
hour ago.
Yeah, during lunchtime.
Okay.
It's exciting.
All right. Well, who wants to claim time then? Everybody?
Don't look at me. I'm not playing.
Is anybody anxious about that? I mean, I'm a little bit anxious
Oh,
about
okay,
go
good,
ahead.
Carl. Talk about it.
I guess I can be anxious about that.
I guess I can choose.
I mean, it's sort of a delayed anxiety about it because it is a far off problem, but
It is a future problem.
I'm anxious to see how what's his name?
Stephen Summers.
How Steve approaches ministry and how how connected he wants to be to his churches and what his vision is for the churches in the area.
If he's going to listen first or just dive in.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see that because if he's not on the same page as me, I might ask to leave and go elsewhere, but I could end up with the same issue anywhere, really. So yeah, that's a little anxiety producing and something that's been on my mind since I'm on a possible move list. But yeah, I don't know what else to process from that.
Is this person someone known in the conference?
Heather knows him.
Mhm.
She says he's great.
Yeah, he's really nice. From the, like 3 interactions I've
It's
had
funny,
with
the
him.
one other clergy person I texted said, yeah, he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
So we know he's nice.
Yeah.
But what, not any of these done an okay or good job, whatever word you want to use, in
Well-
his current church.
I will say, I know that he handles conflict well, because one of my friends used to work at his church and he had to let her go, so there's that. I still think he's a nice guy and a lot
And he's
happens.
And you like your friend?
Yeah.
That's important information.
So, I know that you were on the possible move list with the previous DS.
Mm-hmm.
Can the new DS come up with their own list, or does it go by?
Well, he doesn't start until the new year starts,
Okay,
technically.
all right.
Our moves are all on July 1st, so he'll be
Okay.
moving with me.
Okay.
He might be consulted by our current DS to sort of talk about some of that stuff, but he's really got a lot of loose ends to tie up in his own current appointment.
Sure.
So he probably won't be very involved in that, other than going to some of the cabinet meetings probably to get a feel for what is going on in the conference. But right now it's with the current DS that I'm worried about right now, and that's why it's a delayed anxiety, because I don't know what comes in July if I'm still where I'm at, or if I'm still in this district, what that looks like.
Do you have a strategy to
Other than
think about this, or to?
other than probing questions with my current DS about where this DS is right now, and I've already let this sort of stuff be known with our current DS. He knows those sort of things is what I'm feeling, and we have a chance to be with our DS this Saturday, and I might see how happy he is about the new placement. Because if he's excited about it, then I'll feel a lot better.
Okay. And do you know where he's going?
He's retiring.
He's retiring.
So he'll be here.
He's going to be at Macedonia, UMC in Stephen City.
Okay.
Remember.
As a member. Well, who can't be excited by that?
Right.
Yeah.
Unless he's forced out somewhere.
No, I'm pretty sure his wife is happy he's retiring.
He said in my last meeting with him that if he wanted to take another appointment, that she'd be staying right here, and he could go do that by himself. That she was done.
Well, he knew where she stood.
Mm-hmm.
He's ready,
Yeah.
I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny with the news with him.
He's prepared for his next step.
Yeah.
He's moving over to clergy coaching.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Forgot about that.
All
So,
right.
Yep.
He's not your coach?
I haven't tried to dive into anything other
He's
than
looking for hours.
I'll follow up with him on April 24th.
Yeah.
After this
But
opening of
actually-
life.
There's always time for something else, that's my motto.
Kyle.
How's that
Yeah.
principal working?
Great. It's
No, he said he
fine.
doesn't feel as busy this week, which is good.
Yes, I'm making an effort to be less busy, and
Oh,
the,
sorry, this is what he's supposed to be.
I didn't even notice. And
That's
the, transition is not going as quickly as I'd like.
To being less busy? That
To
transition?
people picking up that slack,
Mm.
Okay.
to others being involved in picking up that slack. One of my churches, I told Sean and Heather earlier during our break, it is a mess. I'm probably gonna go to to a motel this week and recruit like 5 volunteers to come work at a low wage at the church for a day and clean it up.
Mm.
So that I don't have to do all of it.
Mhm.
It's not really a good job of mobilizing leaders within my own congregation. But stuff's just not getting done right now and it's driving me crazy.
Are you expected to be the janitor?
No, but it drives me crazy when the church
Okay.
looks as it does.
Do they not notice?
People notice, but you know how like sometimes when something's not done at your house and you're like, I'll do it tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the feeling right now. People are like, that's tomorrow, us's problem.
Mm-hmm.
So in your efforts, I mean, how can you be less crazy about the mess?
I'm
So
not
that-
there a lot right now.
Okay.
I'm working out of the
Yeah,
office a lot.
Okay.
I mean, we have something set up from December 17th we did that's still not been put away. We haven't finished cleaning up from Watts completely.
Wow.
Well, I mean, there's a room that a lot of stuff gets moved into that's not really used the rest of the year, and all that stuff is still in there.
Can imagine it's annoying.
It is annoying when I see it. If I don't see it, then it's not as annoying. When I distance myself from the whole situation, it's great.
So how, I mean, again, without distancing yourself from the situation, what's the avenue to take to wonder with your congregation, gee, I wonder who's going to take.
That's sort of the avenue I've been taking a little bit. I've been saying, this really needs to get done. This really needs to get done, folks. We need somebody to change the marquee out front. I took all the letters off of the marquee so somebody can start doing that from now on. Who wants to do it? No takers yet. Might just wheel the marquee to the back of the church.
Mm.
I'm reminded of part of me thinks that this is just pure legend, but that it's been around the Virginia Synod Lutherans for a while, that a pastor was having problems that the lawn at the church was not being mowed during the summertime. And nobody signed up to do it, nobody was willing to put forth the time. And so the pastor, they had 11 o'clock service, so at 10:45, the pastor was out mowing the lawn with a t-shirt on, just mowing the lawn before service starts. People got the message.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
Yeah.
I happen to think that's a little passive aggressive.
I don't think I'm that passive aggressive. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. No, I'm pretty
Worship
open that
on
the
the
stuff
lawn.
needs to be done.
Got it back.
I haven't kept it to myself. But there's that sort of culture where, well, when we have something else we have to do, we'll get to that. And that's fine. It's not hurting anything that the stuff's out right now. And it'll get fixed eventually. I need to remind myself of that.
Is it something that if you were to come visit the church, you would notice right away, or is it in parts of the church? I know you said the one room that's like closed.
It's in the fellowship hall part of it, but it actually looks kind of nice in the fellowship hall because it looks like we have a puppet ministry right now. Makes it look like we have an active puppet ministry, so I don't really mind it there right now, but it needs to be taken down for other stuff we're doing. We have Pancake Sunday in a few weeks.
Mm.
3 weeks Pancake Sunday, yes. It's the best Sunday because we can do pancakes. Just stuff coming up.
I had a summer student who just died for pancakes too. I don't know what it is. But pancakes. But anyway,
So they haven't had good enough pancakes.
so do you think your
He prefers flapjacks.
part of your effort is then is just have the principle that, okay, I know this is coming up in 3 weeks and this has got to be done, that you're not going to do it? Is that your principle?
I'm working on facilitating getting a lot of the stuff done. So like, instead of me asking people to sign up to, or asking people to sign up for stuff, I'm asking somebody to get people to sign up for stuff.
Oh, okay.
So it's sort of a change.
That's really awesome, good for you.
Change in philosophy of how to do that. And, so part of getting stuff cleaned up is saying, hey, I need someone to get a group of people together and clean this up. Which for this I probably am just going to do it at the local motel, pull a bunch of people out because I can use part of our community fund money to do it because the people need money and they like to work. And they're always calling me and asking me if I have work they can do. But
Would you let your leadership know that you're doing that?
yeah, I already told them. I said, I might do this. They said, oh, that's a great idea. Then they said, you should. So I'm not taking care of some of that stuff. I'm definitely pulling back on it. And I'm not going to be doing it all on my own.
Well, yeah, like I said earlier, improvement is incremental. It's always on the continuum. So, but I think it's wonderful that you're working at becoming not as much of an overfunctioner in that congregation. It'll be interesting to see what the response to that congregation, particularly if you stay there, what kind of possibilities that ensues.
And even if I don't stay there, maybe the next pastor won't be set up to have to overwork in order to make people happy.
Yeah.
Need the campground version in front.
Any other thoughts for Carl?
I'm happy for you. It's like, I feel like for the scope of how things have gone the past couple months, that's a good problem to be having. Working to that versus being like, I'm doing all these things, I don't know why no one else would do them with me. That we're moving to like equipping someone else to do it.
I'd say that's good, some good 2%.
Sweet.
I know my affirmation matters so much.
Everybody's affirmation matters to me. I'm a millennial.
Heather and I were at another clergy group, and I think I'll talk about how I got to this later on, but how much we appreciate getting affirmation. Not like we want to be told. We don't want affirmation that's not genuine. Like, don't just say it's good just to say it's good, but like getting good feedback, how important that is. And when there's a lack of that, how we wrestle with that. And that's like.
We were the only two in the group that thought that
I
way.
was
The
gonna
other
say.
people in the group, whose one's my husband, was like, remained quiet during that
Yeah,
portion
well, it's
of
funny
the
because I described Katie and
conversation.
how, like, when we first started a relationship, there was a joke about how I was just like, just affirm me right now. I just need affirmation. And Dana was just like nodding. And so it's just funny thinking that, like, the differences in their spouses.
So is this a subject you want to talk more
Sure,
about? Okay.
sure, why not? Last Monday, it's kind of cool because his story, I guess, has come around a little bit since where I was when we had that meeting. Last Sunday, I got to preach, which is great. And I always appreciate what people feel like they have time to tell me in the receiving line. Kirk's wife came through and was like, I'm trying to go to a small group, I don't know where they are. I was like, well, there's supposed to be a handout in the bulletin that says where the new groups are. It's not there. All right? You can look on the webpage, you can pull it up on your phone. Like, well, I just don't understand why I just don't know where any of this stuff is. And I was like, well, if you go over to the education building, woman who's been here for 6 years, I didn't say that part. You'll be able to find some of the classes. And she ended up, Kirk came over, and so she said the same stuff to Kirk. And so at staff meeting the next day, Kirk relayed every feedback that Stephanie had given to us about small groups to the entire staff for my benefit of hearing it again. And it was just one of those, like, this is great. And what should have probably happened is I could have pulled Kirk aside and said, in the future, I would love to just get that feedback one-on-one. Because of the somewhat sensitive nature of who his wife is, she struggles with a lot of psychiatric needs. And so I know there's a lot of swinging on the pendulum of how she's feeling and what she feels is appropriate feedback at that time. I also felt like it was one of those things of, I think Kirk knew every action except for the fact that he had to tell me during staff meeting. And so that's probably something to bring back up. But I was feeling annoyed that had happened, and the only feedback I got on my sermon from him or Joanna was I said mission instead of mission, and I said persons instead of people at one point, and that was it.
What's the difference?
Apparently, persons, according, I haven't actually looked it up yet, isn't really a word, and people is the plural of person. I will say persons because I feel like it implies that there's
Personhood of the peoples?
Exactly, yes, versus just saying people. And mission versus missions is strictly the theological, like, is it a mission of God, or are we doing missions? And when Joanna told me that, I was like, yeah, I know sometimes I say that. And she's like, no, you always do. And it was one of those, like, just shut up, like, moments. And so I left feeling annoyed that these two people feel like the best way to give me feedback is to assume I know I did a good job and to point out what I did wrong, and then just to act like that's normal. And I feel conflicted when I have to tell people I appreciate hearing what I've done well, because that helps me, grow and feel like I'm on the right track of things. Because then it feels, and I feel like this got owned in our meeting on Thursday, like it feels needy, and I don't want to come across needy, because I don't need your feedback, I just appreciate your feedback.
It's real hard being a person that appreciates affirmation. Makes you sound super needy.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm like Daniel.
Daniel says, I love you. Why do I have to tell you I love you?
And
I think you're pretty.
Katie
Why do I have to say
has
that?
allegedly told her mother about how often I say I love you, and she's like, I know already, good grief.
Daniel
And
says that too! Oh my god.
And so
I can just get together and commiserate, and we can get together
exactly,
and
exactly. So in the work side of that, I know we've talked about before, when it came to like my evaluation I had there, that there was like, Kirk's one thing was like, have you thought about teaching a disciple class? And I was like, yeah, at some point. And he was like, okay, cool. And I was like, preaching, the way discipleship stuff's going, like, what about any of that? And just, yeah, it's fine. And that bugs me, because I also want to know where I can improve and grow and everything like that. And so I thought it was interesting that after that meeting, before getting ready for an event we had Thursday night, I had looked through the one flight back from a conference I was at where I'd actually gotten to do some future planning and stuff like that, and said that I wanted to get to where we had 50% of our worship in small groups. And the attendance for that week was 50% of our worship was in small groups. And I'd said that I wanted at least 31 people to come to Pub Theology, so that I knew that we weren't, so I could just say we're not trending down, like it's averaging around the same thing. And we had 31 freaking people. And it was just one of those things of like, it's hard, like, I cannot believe that is a coincidence, like, that
Mhm.
there's some kind of affirmation in that, and feeling like that is a area that I can start, you know, not needing to hear it verbalized,
Mhm.
but just understanding it. And then last night, I got to make handouts for our small groups, 'cause whatever, we have to advertise those and communicate those better, and I had hung these signs that are like in 72-point font, so that even the lovely granny's 80-year-old can read the signs and know where the classes are. And that did make a very big difference, and Kirk had mentioned how that was really helpful, and so it was like, just kind of funny to have that curve of seeing the opportunities to just understand the affirmation of what I'm doing in and of itself, and then hearing it at the end of the week. So, it was an up and down week, kinda like, you know, the Vikings, but.
There was hope.
There was hope, and then there's a gospel according to poor sports.
So, one of the things that we're involved here, I mean, nobody is a supervisor or a manager or a boss anymore, they're coaches.
Okay,
Okay.
that's at T-Board?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, in LCS.
Okay.
And one of the concepts that has been heightened is the idea that we don't just coach down, we also coach up. So that our coach, supervisor slash boss, knows what we need and how to deliver it.
Mhm.
So, and that makes, I think that makes good sense in systems thinking as well, that it's not, you know, not everything flows in one direction. But I think I may have mentioned this at some point in supervision with you, coaching with you,
Mhm.
that, you know, maybe Kirk doesn't know what is helpful to you
Yeah,
unless you tell him.
yeah. And that's, thinking about today, because hey, we're in CP, I think hearing his feedback last night at the meeting we were at, the next time I see him, I was gonna say, hey, just so you know, like, I really appreciate getting that kind of feedback, because it helps me to know that I'm on, that we're living in this shared vision, and that I'm living in that. And by the way, that works a lot better than when I hear it in this way. And finding a way to say that with him one-on-one, to where, because I also don't want to come in and be like, look, we both know your wife is blah, like, that's not okay. But if I could get that kind of feedback in a closed door sense, so I can hear it and I can do what I need to do with it without feeling like it's out there, that would be appreciated too. And I don't think that's the first time he's done that in a staff meeting, so I don't think it's anything directed at me in that sense. I don't know how often he's done it. It's the first time I've seen him do it since I've been there. But talking with some other staff people, I don't think that's the first time he's referenced something his wife has said. And wholeheartedly bought into it, made a change, and gone on with it. That's a whole other story.
Sounds like a him problem.
Yeah, I think he,
So where his anxiety lives?
I would, without a doubt, say there's a lot of anxiety with his and his wife's relationship. And that's probably not that bold of a statement once you get to know him and see that going on. What's a little bolder is like, does that affect how he interacts with women that are in their, you know, potentially later parts of their career or that are older? Does the way he interacts with his wife influence how he interacts with Joanna? Does the anxiety he gets from his wife interact with other things that he hears outside, the kind of feedback he gets? The first time I met Stephanie, she was like, she came up and I stood up because she came in the room and she goes to Kirk and was like, who let you wear that out today? And it was like, he's in like a nice, I mean, a really nice suit, and it matched. I didn't know what the problem with it was, but she said that, and Katie's on my shoulder was like, she was complaining about that for the last 10 minutes when we were in the other room. It's just like, I imagine, having been in a relationship where I got negative feedback in the past often, and how much that affected my morale and my ability to like handle anxiety, I can't imagine when you've been married to someone for 30 years if that's a consistent thing. And so, I think for me, when it comes to trying to function the best I can in a working relationship with Kirk, I probably allow things to happen that aren't helpful for me because I feel I understand he's got other stuff going on and it's not, most of the time it's not personal. I know in our coaching conversations I've had things that I've taken personally, but usually get around to knowing that it's not about me. This thing, for example. So, long story short, or short story long, I feel like I'm still tabling my needs, feeling like it's helping someone else not have to deal with more stuff. That's probably not the healthiest thing in the world. So I think there's a good opportunity this week to bring up the things that are helpful for him interacting with me, and to do so in a way that may not produce the same kind of anxiety he's used to, that I'm just guessing out of my limited interactions, seeing the two of them in the same place.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like you are thinking about this as not only coaching up, but also in the process of that, being really clear about the kind of conversation that the two of you can have one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
And that maybe that helps reduce any anxiety that he may have
Yeah.
over that.
Yeah, I hope so. Because I think, I know he is an anxious person. Where the source of that anxiety comes from, I can guess, but I don't know. And I don't think he would tell me if I asked him straight up, because I feel like it's kind of a funny question to ask someone.
What's the source of your anxiety?
Yeah. I also know he's not, I mentioned this before, that he's just not a fan of doing this kind of stuff. His CPE experience was definitely something he just had to survive. And he references it every once in a while. The last time he referenced it was, we had a parishioner who passed away one passed away and are reminded of his mother passing away, and he said, verbalized that to me. And another person who has Parkinson's, and how it's really hard for him to visit that person because it reminds him of his dad and what his dad went through. That, like, naming those two things is like, I think the amount of processing he's done.
Mhm.
It's just like, wow, this makes me feel uncomfortable. Okay. I am now uncomfortable. And that's not knowing what he's done at his own time, but I imagine.
So, I mean, when that happens, can you follow up with a curious question?
I try. He usually just finds a way to deflect the question that follows up and changes subject, and I have not followed up in a way that was intentional enough to like bring back the deflection. Part of that's because usually when those moments happen, they're not in a setting that I'm gonna try to bring him back to it because we're on the way to do something else, or we'll come back or something.
Sorry,
You're fine. But
I didn't use our break wisely.
so yeah, I think I could probably do more to do the curious stuff, but I don't know how much you do or something.
Yeah, you know, I'm thinking about the highly anxious people that I know. I'm trying to think if I would say that they're even aware of their own anxiety being so elevated. So that, you know, unless somebody kind of leads them there, that it's just become such a way of living.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my grandmother would have been that classic person. And she was just, you know, the biggest worrier. I mean, she worried about everything, you know. I don't think the grass is quite as green this year. It looks like a different shade to me, you know, kind of worry,
Yeah.
you know, just off the wall kind of stuff. And that was just normal for her.
Mm-hmm.
And if I, you know, I was barely aware of myself at that age, that, you know, I was conscious of that, so I don't think I could have helped her, but, you know, well, so wondering, you know, you seem to be awfully anxious about the color of the grass or what have you. Yeah, so what is that like? She may not have been able to tell me. Kirk may not be able to tell you if you were to figure it out. But at some point, you know, just if you have the M to be able to do it,
Yeah.
and he's exhibiting anxiety over something, say, Kirk, you really seem to be stirred up about this. And I'm trying to hear you, I'm trying to understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Can you help me?
I think I struggle with being able to finish that sentence. Like, in my experience, I'm able to be like, I noticed that you're anxious. And then it's like, what? So, I noticed this, so what about it? And then that's the come out, right? It's like, so how? I guess I just lack that, tell me more about that. Or is that true, or something like that?
Is that accurate?
Yeah.
That's what I'm sensing, is that accurate?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out, you know, what is it about this that's making you anxious?
Yeah.
If there's anything I could to help lower your anxiety about it, help you not worry about it.
Mm-hmm. What can I do?
That would be at least how I might think about it.
Mhm.
But again, you know, he may not be able to answer that at the time, and because he may not recognize that he's really anxious.
Sure.
But it may, you know, raise an antenna for him.
Mm-hmm. No, and I don't know, what I've ended up doing in the past is asking staff that have known him for longer, particularly one, there's one guy who's worked there for 20-something years, who went to college with Stephanie, and long story short, so they've known the family for a long time. So usually what I do is just like, I follow up with George and say, is he doing something? Like, does he have some kind of outlet for, and if George says yes, I'm like, okay, that's as much as I can look for.